there is some good news. There is some good news. In fact, it comes in the form of certain local and state politicians during this emergency period lightening the load of regulations on businesses. It's a change that shows just how burdensome and wasteful those regulations always were, and that is a positive. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. You know, last week I shot a video in which I mentioned Stockholm Syndrome, the sad phenomenon that sees kidnapping victims or prisoners start to actually identify with or thank their captors. And this again now is something that we can avoid as we look at stories like these. Now, why can we do that? Because we can take the larger lessons with us and apply them at any time to combat the rhetoric of the politicians. Now, according to Charles Blaine, writing for the Foundation for Economic Education, a sizable number of politicians are taking emergency action to lift regulations in order to help get products and services to people who need them. Now, this is a trend, if it is a trend, that tells us how arbitrary, wasteful, and burdensome the regulations always have been. For example, as Boston Mayor Marty Walsh imposed wicked bad new prohibitions on voluntary association inside restaurants, he graciously lifted the licensing requirement for restaurants to home deliver. Wasn't that kind of him? Well, not only did this show his bald-faced assumption of power, but it showed that the licensing scam is a money grab for the city that actually restricts entry into the market and keeps delivery prices artificially higher than they need to be. Added Blaine, even New York City suspended its enforcement of illegal e-bikes during the crisis to accommodate for the influx of delivery orders. The state also moved to allow liquor to go. Well, since the pandemic has so detrimentally affected the supply chain, Blaine notes that Texas Governor Greg Abbott waived oversized and overweight restrictions for commercial trucks and suspended requirements to register under the International Registration Plan or to obtain temporary registration as long as the truck is registered in one U.S. state. And that, of course, does mean that there's going to be more competition for already registered truckers. But it translates to a larger pool of drivers, more potential deliveries, and potential savings for customers at a time when they really could use the savings and the goods. But actually, really, it's not my place to say whether somebody needs the goods. My opinion on whether somebody really needs something now or at any other time is actually irrelevant. To assume that others need what you need or that you can tell them what they want is actually very arrogant and conceited. So why not recognize that politically from the start and tell politicians it's not their place to restrict the pool of truckers and the kinds of vehicles they can use? For in fact, what really is a regulation or a government restriction or a licensing requirement but a threat? All of these things are really threats. They're threats of retribution against peaceful people for not doing things the way the government wants them to do it, or not paying the government, or not following the government orders. And of course, that's incredibly immoral, and it kills savings that could be spent in other ways. Blaine also notes that in Texas, there's some more very revealing news. Governor Abbott also waived regulations allowing doctors to receive the same payment for over-the-phone telemedicine visits that they would for in-person visits for patients on state-regulated insurance plans. So now they're being allowed to do something they could have done in the past, something that could have saved many people time and money, saved gas, saved lives on the road, and provided myriad other benefits. Now, of course, we all know that this was incredibly sweet of the governor to recognize this, even for a little while. And of course, when one says that they're being allowed to do this, the question remains, If politicians don't like how others are conducting their jobs and offering services or products to customers on a voluntary basis, then why don't the politicians do the peaceful thing and enter the market as private competitors rather than pass edicts and statutes and codes enforced by tax-backed police officers? Finally, in Texas, Blaine notes this very good improvement via Governor Abbott. Most notably, he waived state laws that prohibit alcohol industry trucks from delivering supplies to grocery stores, saying, quote, "By removing these regulations, we are streamlining the process to replenish the shelves in grocery stores across the state," end quote. All of these moves allowed for the market to identify the needs of the public and fill them as quickly as possible. Which pretty much makes the free market case right there.
Wait a minute.
Whoa, what was that? That was economics. Now, some might wonder, what about safety? What about security against disease? Well, risk does carry a particular value to people. It's a value that we have to calculate ourselves and apply prices to. It's something that we can't have politicians decide for us and have them back their decisions with police who, by the way, can not only spread a virus, but whom we can rarely legally say no to when they want us to open our homes or businesses or cars for government inspection. By lifting these restrictions, politicians are actually allowing us to make more of our own decisions about our own lives. And isn't that the way it's supposed to be in a free and voluntary society? That's what I thought. But then again, maybe I'm old-fashioned in the 21st century. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. Once again, I hope you're all doing okay and that your friends and neighbors are also doing very well. If you can, please share these videos with them. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, to like and subscribe. If you want some great MRC swag, head to MRC-store, and please do visit MRCTV.org for the panoply of great stories that are being worked on by the team. Thank you so much. All the best to you. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.